Hello, everyone. We're just waiting to get started a few moments now for countdown, and we will have Ameer Rosic on to talk about sleep and how much your child needs and why it's super important and how our world is dictating what goes on as far as healthy amount of sleep. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another wonderful evening of the Healthy Kids Revolution. Tonight is pretty exciting. We have Ameer Rosic on the line from Canada. I have to toot his horn here because he is fantastically charming, and he's also super, super intelligent. And I know the women on the line are happy to see all these handsome men in the series. But we have Ameer here, who is a registered holistic nutritionist. He's a functional diagnostic practitioner and a functional medicine practitioner, which that means that, number one, he is highly educated, but he's also super passionate about teaching. He's an author. He's a TV personality in Canada, and the gift that Ameer brings is he has fabulous, tons of YouTube fitness videos for you all to look at, go in, get yourselves educated, and help you get healthier. But today, Ameer, welcome on the line. First of all, I need to make sure you're there.
Thank you, Carmen, for having me on board, and I want to thank everybody for listening in and really taking their time to educate themselves and to educate their families.
Absolutely, and you're going to talk about something very near and dear to my heart that I struggle with as a parent of two boys who have Nintendo DSs and their iPods and their iPhones and all these electronic devices, and they want to stay up now until 10:30 at night, and they're 11 and 13 years old, and you're today going to share with us your insights into how much sleep affects our children and what are the amounts of sleep that our children need. So I think that if you can, we fast forward into your presentation, you brought along some slides so that we can visually engage with you as well as hear your voice. And what can you share with us about what's going on with sleep in our children?
Well, right now what's happening, in the society that we're living in, we're pretty much lacking sleep in all aspects that you can possibly think about. Just from 1960, that's not even too long ago, we were sleeping on average, give or take, 10 hours. And Carmen, can you guess on average how many hours a night we're sleeping right now?
Oh gosh, I'm going to venture 6.
Yeah, if we're lucky.
Really?
Yeah, it's quite scary. So we're sleeping, if we're lucky, on average 6 hours compared to 10 hours not too long ago. And that's a huge burden on the human body. It does many, many things. Now, when you think about it, you have to first ask your question, well, why do we sleep in the first place, right? We don't just go to sleep for no reason. There is...
Because we're tired.
Yeah, exactly. But the mechanism why we're sleeping is plain and simple. I give the analogy of a battery, right? So if the battery is dead and it's discharged, what do you do with the battery? Well, if you have the rechargeable batteries, you're going to put them back in the socket and you're going to recharge them. Well, your body's no different. The same thing if you're driving a beautiful Ferrari or if you're driving, any car that you have. When your gas tank goes on empty, you have to refill. Your body is no different. It works on certain mechanisms. It has to heal at night, recharge at night, so it gives you enough power so you can continue out throughout the day.
Okay.
Right? And then if
that makes sense.
The audience right now is looking at the slide right here. I have you snooze, you lose. Basically, if you sleep approximately around 8 hours right now, what this does is incredible benefits towards your body. It actually lowers something called ghrelin, and this is like a really fancy word for a hormone, and this hormone actually controls your hunger cues. And if you look at the actual error, and it actually tells you that when you sleep 8 hours, it actually decreases the signaling of ghrelin. That's fantastic news. And it's really funny. So what basically this is telling us is if you are decreased in sleep, so if you're sleeping like 5 hours, if you're looking at that, your actual signal to eat more food is increased like tenfold. The less sleep equals out to more hunger. And what does more hunger equals out to? Well, more obesity, weight gain, tiredness.
More calories in.
That's right? So it's a cascading effect. It's I like to call like the domino series. One domino affects all other dominoes, right?
Okay, right.
And it's really important that people understand that the amount of hours you sleep and key word when you go to sleep is pivotal for having a healthy boy or a healthy girl or having healthy children or having healthy parents. Everybody in the world, through billions of years of evolution, we obeyed the laws of the universe, and we went to bed according to how the sun went up and the sun went down.
True.
Now, if you're looking at this chart right now over here, it says 5 hours, right? And it says increase in body mass index, increase in ghrelin, and increase in appetite, right?
Okay.
So something so simple as educating our children and educating the parents as to say, listen, if you can go to bed just a little bit earlier, and I'm telling you, Carmen, this is not even talking about nutrition yet. I'm not even talking about exercise yet. I'm just talking about changing your sleeping pattern.
Right.
I guarantee you'll notice a reduction in weight, an improvement in attention, and cognitive functions increase tenfold.
How about that?
Yeah, how about that, right? So it costs you nothing. It's absolutely free. And the beauty about it is anybody everywhere in the world can implement this.
And I think what it takes, Ameer, is a commitment, because I know as a parent, I'm a single parent, and so I have to be good cop and bad cop, and it's really hard to fight every battle. And so I do kind of give in on the sleep battle, and I'm like, I'll be on the computer and I'll be busy, and then I don't get my kids in bed, and then I look up and I'm mad. It's 10:30 and they're still up watching, Duck Dynasty or something. I'm like, you guys have got to go to bed. So again, I hear what you're saying, and for the parents, I think our takeaway in part is that we need to be more diligent about minding what matters. It does matter what time your child goes to bed, and you're going to show us some more negative effects of the sleep deprivation, aren't you?
Definitely. Well, now, basically, if everyone's looking at this right now, these are all the signs and symptoms that are correlated to negative effects of sleep. So pretty much everything's correlated to having a bad sleeping pattern. You're looking at, you have cognitive dysfunctions, memory. How many of us right now have issues with memory problems?
Oh, a lot, I'm sure.
That's right, a lot.
Brain fog.
And then if you're looking at, for example, right now, and I work closely with a lot of people in this category, is ADHD. Now, everybody supposedly right now is being diagnosed with ADHD. In reality, and there's studies to back this up, hormonally speaking, exactly how your body works, is ADHD is a simple mechanism of your body's ability of not healing properly through lack of sleep. So how many children out there, boys and girls, supposedly in school, the teacher or principal or doctors are saying, these kids are hyperactive, they have to go on Ritalin, they have to go on Prozac, they have to go on some prescription drug. When in reality what's really going on is these kids, they're not getting the proper sleep they need. They're growing. It takes a lot of energy to grow a healthy boy and girl, and they need the proper sleeping pattern to help them achieve a proper healthy growth as an adolescent.
This is a daunting task. And as you were saying that, I was thinking, okay, what are the things that I do with my kids? And again, it's a commitment from the parents to put down what you want to do at night. Like, you might want your own little downtime, but unfortunately, I know I struggle with it too, because I want my own time. I'm so busy. I want time for me. But you know what? I've got to get my kids to sleep, and they should come first. And so oftentimes I find that I will either read to them, and they're like I said, 11 and 13. They still will let me read to them. You would not believe how your children love you to read to them. It's just a wonderful bonding time. Or I'll sing to them, and that probably hurts their ears, but, that's another story. Or I'll actually rub their face or rub their back and just get them to lie in the bed without, their gadgets and gizmos, and just try to, dark room, rub their back, rub their face, and within minutes, usually both of my boys will fall asleep. So those are just some tips that I'm throwing off the top of my head that I find really helpful. And I didn't mean to interrupt your negative effects of sleep, but that just came into my head as some ways that we can actually get these kids down to bed. Maybe this ADHD and these other symptoms that we're seeing, the memory lapse and the cognitive impairment, those different things can be reduced if we do make the concerted effort to get those 8 hours of sleep in our children, correct?
Definitely. You hit the nail in the coffin, and we'll be getting to that in just a bit. But, I just want the parents to really know that, just because maybe their child is having immune problems, or the child has ADHD, or maybe the child's not healing properly, a lot of that times it can be correlated just back to sleep. So really educating on the signs and symptoms to look for can be really beneficial. And the tip that you just gave about, spending time with your child, rubbing their bodies, their back, talking to them, reading to them, disconnecting from electronics, those are pivotal easy stuff that all parents can do. And I'm going to be explaining much more in detail later on in a presentation. Now, if we go to our next slide right now, this is huge. I want everyone to really pay close attention to this. It's a term that you probably heard before. It's known as a circadian rhythm. Now, this is just a fancy word for saying pattern. Obviously, our bodies run on cycles, meaning our hormones aren't running 24/7, 7 days a week on the same speed, right? They go up and down, on and off. Same thing like a car. You do not run your car 24/7 or you're going to burn out your engine. Now, if we look closely at this chart, and you're going to follow from clockwise all the way around, so you can start at noon and go all the way around, back again. That's a 24-hour period from noon to noon. And if you go straight down the middle, so if you're looking at the tree, right down it's going to be midnight. That's our daytime cycle right there. And throughout your cycle, the circadian rhythm cycle throughout the day, different hormones turn on to do different things. And it's quite funny because we're actually, in today's time right now, going against exactly how our body naturally should be functioning. And I'll give you a great example right here, Carmen. If you look down there, it says melatonin secretion starts, right?
At 7:30?
Yeah, give or take. It depends. On average, like it depends on the seasons, right? So summertime is later, wintertime is earlier, right? So just say on average, say it's fall time, 7 o'clock, give or take. What are we doing around 7 o'clock still? Well, most likely we're in a very lit up space with a lot of overhead light. We're being, stimulated by electronics such as, your laptop with Facebook, with Twitter. You have TV. You're interacting on the phone with your friends. There's so much stimuli in the air, and what do you think your body's doing? Well, these cues, these signals of stimuli in your environment are sending signals to your body saying, oh, it's still daytime. There's no need for you to go to sleep. And this is horrible because what this really does is that melatonin, that hormone, and melatonin for the audience listening is meant to put you to bed. So it tells you, oh, okay, you had a really hard day, you did what you have to do, it's time for you to shut down, melatonin rises, it decreases your cortisol, which is your stress hormone, and tells you it's time to heal. But melatonin only works this way if it's in a proper environment. So if you're not around stimuli, if you're relaxing, and like you mentioned, if you're spending time with your kids, reading a book, minimizing the lights, this is huge. Melatonin loves this, and this actually raises the melatonin. But like I mentioned before, the problem right now is there's not a positive environment for melatonin to actually rise. Instead, it's decreasing. And when there's a decrease in melatonin, the opposite happens. You have an increase in cortisol. Now, the audience probably heard of cortisol before. It's a stress hormone.
Right.
And that's not good, right? So, Carmen, we don't want to have stress at night, do we?
Right. When we're sleeping, we're developing stress because we don't have enough melatonin.
Yeah, and that's exactly what's happening. And this is a repetitive cycle. So one day, okay, your body can handle it. But what happens day after day after day, year after year after year? What do you think is going to be happening to your body? Well, in most basic terms, you are actually burning out your body. It's like us going to a car, filling it up with a full tank of gas, and driving it, but never stopping over for gas. We're going to blow out the engine.
Okay.
And
it's a good analogy.
Yeah, and it's crucially important that the parents really need to understand that everybody, it's not just parents, everybody needs to understand that our bodies run on cycles. The more that we can obey the cycles, the healthier we become. And it's funny because if you look at like ancient cultures, I'm going to name just one culture I'm really a big fan of. They're the Hunzas. They lived in the Hindu Kush Mountains in Afghanistan. Now, they're a centurion culture, meaning on average everybody was living in the hundreds. And that's amazing. But what really amazed me about this culture was, yes, they ate fantastic food. Yes, they had amazing community. Yes, they're outside all day. But what they really worshipped and they really appreciated was a healthy sleeping pattern. So they really followed how the seasons changed. They went to bed on time. So the sun set, they went to bed. Sunrise, they woke up, right? And this is one of the secrets of their longevity is sleeping. And all these cultures that we look around the world, like I mentioned, the Hunzas, the Vilcambis, the Okinawans, they all followed a proper circadian rhythm, sleeping according to how the universe was dictating our body for billions of years.
And I'm thinking of all the parents on the line that are listening into this conversation, and how many of you parents stay up until midnight or well past midnight checking your emails. You're not going to bed at 10 o'clock and getting that 8 hours of sleep. So you're depriving your body, and you can't figure out why you don't feel good and why you feel sluggish and why you can't lose weight. This sounds like one of the keys, because the hormones in our body are there to help us. So melatonin is a hormone. And he talked about cortisol. That's another hormone. If we aren't letting those hormones do their proper job, and when melatonin starts to secrete in the later evening times, if we're not going to bed, our engine's not turning on. That melatonin's not getting produced.
That's right. And actually, if our audience looks at the next slide right now, this is how a normal sleep cycle should look like. And the orange line that they're looking at, that's cortisol. So if it's 9 a.m., the sun is outside, and, you're up and about where you're supposed to be. So you need high cortisol to have high adrenaline. You need your active hormones to be active during the day. This is how the body runs, right? And when nighttime comes, as you see, 6 p.m., it's winding down. 12 a.m., you should be way, way in bed before that time. And then 3 a.m., and then you see slightly around like 4 a.m., once again, cortisol starts rising because the sun is also rising. So it follows the rhythm of the sun. And if the audience pays really close attention right here, I want to show them something really, really important. And this is why timing of sleep, Carmen, is crucial for proper health.
Okay.
Now, if we're looking at the two pieces of pie down there, so one says physical, one says psychological. Now, the physical one, your body heals in two aspects. It doesn't heal at the same time, meaning it can't heal your body in a psychological and physical way, because it takes a lot of energy, all the different hormones. As I mentioned, they work on cycles. So the first cycle of healing your body is physical, then the second cycle is psychological. But this is the key point I'm about to tell everybody, is the physical part to start healing your body roughly starts around 10 p.m. Now, say you go to bed, Carmen, at 12 p.m. What happens into your physical repair mechanism?
You cut that time in half?
That's right. You cut that time in half.
You're only getting half the physical repair time that you should be getting.
That's right. But to make things even worse, because you went to bed at 12 p.m. and you cut your physical time in half, as I mentioned before, your hormones run in a domino chain, meaning once activated, it activates the second one, the third, the fourth, and fifth, and so forth. But if you don't go to bed at 10 o'clock and you're going to bed at midnight, guess what? You're not even activating your hormones to help out your psychological portion.
The melatonin didn't get triggered because you weren't resting at the right time.
That's right. And your cortisol is still active, your adrenaline is still active, and all of this is a negative effect leading to a negative domino effect. Nothing gets repaired. And the problem is, this is okay in a very acute period, but the problem right now is a very chronic period. This is happening day in, day out, every single day for the rest of our lives. And I just tell everybody, for example, if anyone takes public transit, just go in the public transit in the morning and just look at everybody. Everybody looks like they're completely drained of energy, and
that's true.
Right? It's true. We are drained of energy. When people need 3 to 4 cups of coffee a day, they need stimuluses, they need so much stuff to just be barely awake. Does that sound normal to you?
Not normal and not healthy.
No. Because at the end of the day, what we're doing too is, the point of this summit, this amazing summit we're doing, we want to educate the parents to tell them that you got to give your kids the best opportunity, the chances, and the best resources possible. And what a better and easier resources than going to bed on time. I guarantee your kids will become healthier, smarter, faster, stronger. Everything you can possibly think about can benefit from a proper sleeping cycle, right? And a lot of parents, I know the question will come about, Carmen, saying, well, my kids want to do this at nighttime. My kids want to play video games at nighttime. But what you mentioned earlier about actually creating a habit, creating a connection with your children, creating something that actually is a benefit towards sleep, this is a solution. Instead of attacking them head on and saying, oh, you can't do this, you can't do that, you have to take a different approach, meaning why don't you educate them, tell them to listen to this summit, explain to them, and once you educate your children, I'm pretty sure your children are very smart, and they'll, clue the two together, and slowly over time, instead of going to bed at midnight, maybe tomorrow they go to bed at 11:30. That's a huge improvement.
And I think we have to make steps no matter how small they are. I would encourage every parent on the line. I just can feel your pain because I know how hard it is when everybody's working 2 jobs, or you have a household where both parents are working, everybody's stressed, and you really feel like you don't have the energy to fight the battle. But like Ameer is saying, if we can teach our children these things, the cool thing that I have found with working with children is that children still love themselves, and they will do things to protect their body. We as adults, when we get to adulthood, we have baggage and we have hurts and we have scars and we don't love ourselves and we feel unworthy. But you know what? Our kids, they don't feel that way. They feel worthy and they feel lovable, and they're very self-centered when they're small. So they will try to do things that are good for them. So if you explain in a loving way that, sweetheart, the reason, and show them Ameer's slide here, go, you know what, look, this is your normal sleep pattern, and if you're in bed by 10, you have all this time for physical repair, and that means you're going to be faster on the soccer field. That means your brain is going to have a chance to, develop at night while you're sleeping. So if you want to be the best you can be, let's make sure you get in bed on time and do it in a loving way. I think parents can do this. It's really, we have to remember to go back to the basics of what Dr. Katz said in interview day 1. Dr. Katz's secret sauce for a healthy family and healthy children is love. You have to love your children enough to do what's right for them. You don't want to be their best friend. You don't have to be their best friend. You have to be their parent and do what is right for them. The friendship and all will come down the road, but at this point, when they're small, say toddlers up until middle school, you're still the parent driving force that guides these children. So, I just can't impress that hard enough on the parents that we have got to take reins of our parenthood and make sure we're doing the right things for our kids.
That's right, Carmen. And I want to mention one thing, too, is as a human species, we have a thing called mirror neurons, and it's a really fascinating thing. We've been doing a lot of studies about it with chimps, with humans, and it goes back to a tribal connection. It's how we humans evolved is, if I see, the old adage of monkey see, monkey do. So if I see someone doing something, my brain subconsciously tries to mimic that action, right? So with this type of information that we have, it's very simple. I'm telling the parents out there, and this is something easy and simple all parents can do to help their kids sleep is, your actions speak louder than your words. Meaning, if you want your kids to go to bed at appropriate time, you have to do the same thing. So you can't be telling your children, okay, it's okay, you can go to bed, you have to go to bed at 10 p.m., but yeah, they go to bed and they hear you're still up watching TV or doing something. That won't work. I truly believe as a family, you have to do it as a family, right? Everybody is into this together. It's not a one-man job. Everyone does this together. So the mother, the father, and the kids will all go to bed together. And, maybe doing amazing community work together, meaning maybe they're reading a book together 1 hour before bed, or educating your kids, having fun, laughing together, anything that can bring the family together, and then all of you guys go to bed together at the same time. This is a huge, huge, huge beneficial way that can make this habit an actual habit of going to bed at 10 p.m.
I see people shaking their heads right now, Ameer. The moms and dads on the line. I can just feel it across the U.S. and Canada and Europe, where everybody is that have come into this. They're shaking their heads going, we can't do that. We just got home at 9 o'clock from lacrosse, and I still haven't answered all the emails from today, and I still have to plan for tomorrow. And I get that.
I get that question a lot of times myself, too, is I can't. And that's all I hear is, if, would have, could have, should have, but, if, can't, I can't. Don't say I can't. Always figure out how I can. Don't look at the negative, look at the positive. Right. Each individual has a different scenario in their life, right? So one parent may come back home at 5 p.m. and they have a lot of time to prepare and go to bed. Maybe one parent works till X amount of time and the other parent doesn't work at all, right? So find your individual situation and work for the benefit. Don't look at the negative. Say you come home at 8 p.m. and you're very tired. Well, that's good. You need to go to bed anyways. Why do you have to look at your emails right then and there? Why don't you go to bed earlier? And why don't you wake up a little bit earlier and then look at your emails instead of staying late up at night? Instead of working backwards, you should work forwards. And there's always a solution. There's always a way. You can have It's simple stuff. Like Carmen mentioned earlier, I'm not telling you guys if you're going to bed right now, 1 a.m., all of a sudden magically jump till 10 p.m. But if you're going to bed midnight right now or 1 a.m., just a simple thing of changing your clock 15 minutes earlier, one day or 1 week. The second week, you're changing your clock back another 15 minutes earlier. And the next thing you know it, 1 month later, a month and a half later, you're at 10 p.m., right? And little wins like this wins the whole battle. And I think that's what Carmen was mentioning earlier before, is the little wins that really matter.
Absolutely. It's a journey. It's not a race. And every little step gets you to the destination. You don't have to get there tomorrow, but that's a great way to encourage people. Ameer, we're not expecting everybody to do everything on this summit right away. The goal is to offer simple solutions and very practical suggestions and give you all multiple opportunities to start implementing this in a way that you can handle. Great. If you're diligent and you can go to bed at 10 o'clock sharp on the dot because you're militant and you can handle that, do it. If you're not that good at following rules and you need to kind of dial back gently, but it matters for the health of your children. And to lose weight, hey, if you tell women that you can lose weight by going to sleep earlier, I bet women will listen.
I guarantee they can lose weight. I'll put my foot in my mouth and I'll guarantee it.
But can you go back to the slide with the hormones again, and let's just reiterate again to them the correlation between melatonin and
yeah,
I think I pointed out incorrectly.
Better. Like if we go to the next slide right here, the hormones are controlled by sleep. Right?
Okay.
So right now what we're looking at is so when it's sun time, so every whole time the day is going, say it's 12 p.m. nice, your cortisol should be nice and high, right? So if you're looking right in the middle of the diagram, your cortisol is really super high. That's fantastic, and this is what you want. And when nighttime comes, look at the dip. The cortisol is low, right?
Right.
And when the cortisol is low, your melatonin should be high. This is how a normal hormonal cycle should look like. So if you're comparing your melatonin to your cortisol, and the line that we're looking right now is the cortisol. The problem today's time is that cortisol is inverted. It's actually the opposite way around, and that's why we need coffee, 2-3 cups of coffee a day. That's why we need Red Bull. That's why people need all these stimulants to keep up, and that's why we're having attention problems. And I'll tell you what, Carmen, myself, I did have a lot of attention problems. Hell, if I went to a psychiatrist, I probably would have been diagnosed with ADHD, right?
Right.
Yeah, but when I started sleeping better, and I had my past. I was a teenager. I had crazy times. I did crazy things. But when I started sleeping better, and I mean really honing in on my circadian rhythm, I'm not kidding you when I mean I literally felt my cognitive skills, my brain expanding, becoming healthier. My training, when I train for my sport, I repair faster. How I think is faster, more accurate, like a laser. My attention, forget about it. I used to have issues. I couldn't even stare at a page to read it before. I had issues. I could not even look at that book. But yet now I have no problems. I can sit 3 hours and be like a laser focus and just completely be in the zone. And I all attribute this to a proper sleeping pattern.
And I'm sure there's study after study that documents how majorly beneficial this is. And in the lecture after Dr. Katz, everybody got to see the cell science that I was teaching them, and about how everybody in the cell, every cell in the body has double layers of fat, and we need all of these. Fat is also required to make all of our hormones, because hormones are the same. So again, when we're talking about hormones, that the ghrelin, like you said, that helps suppress our appetite, and the melatonin that helps us sleep, these different things, when we're stressed out and have too much high energy, it's robbing our body of the ability to make the other necessary hormones to help us lose weight and to help us sleep. So, again, like you said, Ameer, it's a domino effect, and if we just follow the simple basic rules, this is a simple thing to do. Go to bed at 10 o'clock.
Yeah.
It's really not that complicated. Just figure out how to get it done. And I am like you. I was stressed out, brain fog, running scattered here and there. And I started going to bed at 10 with my boys. I did this, what you suggested, not knowing that this was like super beneficial for us. But for me, I felt like I needed to get into bed, so I was putting the boys down, and I would go to bed, too. I'm like, boys, it's 10 o'clock, Mommy's tired. And you're right. My thinking is better. The boys seem like they're doing a lot better. Their grades are good in school. They're both athletic. They're both well-adjusted. Their both body weights are fine. So, again, I can see evidence in our own home that this pattern, granted it's difficult, but this pattern is very helpful for our family.
Definitely. And I'll give you this story. An analogy is, I'm pretty sure a lot of parents went out there camping, or they went to a cottage, or they went on vacation. And specifically for myself is, whenever I go camping, there is no TV, there is no electronics. I'm in a tent, I'm in the wilderness, I'm in the wild. When the sun goes down, usually I'm just out a little bit with a fire, and I go to bed. And how does that feel? How does that feel when you wake up that first night from camping?
Well, if you're like me and you take a cot, you feel pretty good. But if you slept on that hard ground, but hopefully you feel very rested and relaxed. It depends on how you
feel
camp,
relaxed,
I suppose.
right?
Yes, but you feel relaxed.
Exactly.
At peace. I think you feel very peaceful, too,
and this
when
is
you
what
let that world go away.
I want them to really take home this message is we've deviated from how we should live as human beings in the most purest form, from the sleeping to nutrition, through exercise, through loving, through socialization, through many different aspects. And at the heart of being a human species, sleep is in the center of it. And it's not just human species. Every single organism you can possibly think about obeys a proper circadian rhythm. And if we look at our next slide right now, is I want to really emphasize on the importance of why a circadian cycle is so important, specifically to the sun. I want to really make the connection with the sun. This is a famous author. I know her quite well, T.S. Wiley. She wrote a famous book called Lights Out, and she basically states is the energy of the sunlight as a photons, the heat the photon produces, and the electromagnetic gravity we are subjugated to controls every bit of energy metabolism and reproduction on the molecular level. In the most purest, simple English language, what that means is the sun controls who you are. That means it controls your immune system, it controls your DNA, it controls the existence of you on this planet. That's how crucial the connection that we have is with sunlight. And if we look at the next quote right here, every single cell in your body is affected by light. That means every single cell in your body has a photonic receptor and is sensitive to light. So why is this so important? Why should we care that every single cell in our body is affected by light? Well, remember when I was mentioning earlier that instead of us going to bed at 10 p.m., we're either on our laptops or on Twitter or on Facebook or watching a movie. Well, these devices, what are they? Well, in my words, they're mini suns. You're actually getting bathed in artificial light, right? And if every single cell in your body has a receptor to light, that means your body still thinks it's daylight. And what does that mean? Once again, no melatonin and increase in cortisol.
Yes.
And see the
Very
importance?
interesting.
So I want the parents to really understand that it's one thing to say go to bed. That's really good. But it's another thing to control your environment. And with this knowledge of knowing, wait a second, laptops, cell phones, desktop computers, TVs, any of these electronics.
Nintendo's, DS with their kids.
That's right. That's right. Even overhead lights at the house, like these big super lights that people have in their house. These are little miniature suns everywhere. And these miniature suns are basically putting your body in a super stressed out state. You don't want to be in a super stressed out state. When you're going to sleep, you want to be in a blissful state. You want no light around you. You want to feel happy, and you want to sleep like a rock. And I want people to understand that with this information, and I'm going to repeat it over and over and over again, is by controlling our environment, by controlling when we go to bed at 10 p.m., and by controlling how we approach our bedtime is a crucial importance. So I'm going to give a tip right now is 1 hour before bed. So obviously we want to be in bed for 10 o'clock. 9 o'clock, no electronics. I mean, shut them down. Why do
Shut them off.
Just turn them off. That's right. Why do you have to be on electronics 1 hour before bed? Better idea. Shut off the lights, or at least have them dimmed out. Have amber lights, because amber does not emit a white light that might over-exaggerate your cortisol. and get together with the family. Sit down with your kids, get to know them, talk to them, ask them how their day going. Become their best friend. Don't think of yourself as a parent, but think of yourself as a best friend for your kids, and read a book with them and socialize with them, and just laugh with them, cry with them, and I guarantee that that sleep that night is going to be one of the best sleeps they ever had.
So we've got a role as parent and friend in this thing. It's a dual role, and there are times to be parent and there's times to be friends. And I love your tip about 1 hour before. Just cut off all that stuff, and that should help your children unwind. Now, as far as like ages of children, is there any recommendation that you have? I guess really not. I mean, that picture that you showed us is really for everyone, right? It doesn't know age or gender. It's like this is our rhythm as a live human being. So 10 o'clock at the latest for children, but younger children can go to bed earlier. Obviously, I hear some people put their kids to bed at 7.
Younger children need more sleep, in my eyes, because they're a growing body, a growing organism. And the older you get, the less sleep you need, technically, but more or less, it's not the number of hours that matters, it's the timing of the sleep that matters.
The timing.
The timing. So you hear people, they'll work night shift, and if you actually look at studies, like night shift workers have one of the highest rates of cancer, have one of the highest rates of a lot of sicknesses. Why? Because they're actually going against the clock. They're going reverse what nature's telling them to do.
Exactly.
Right?
So that's really neat.
Yeah. It's
understanding this rhythm.
Something so simple that sleep can do. Think about it. People know. I know everybody knows. Yeah, sleep's important. Yeah, I sleep at this time. I do that. But when they really start digging into the scientific literature and seeing just simple stuff, as what I'm explaining today is, wow, I really had no idea that sleep affects me this much. And hopefully this presentation can ignite a light bulb and everyone can benefit from it.
An amber light bulb, right? Because we don't want to be overstimulated. Okay. Okay, we got the amber light bulb going. Okay.
Awesome. So if we're looking at the next slide right now, I just want to reiterate again that the connection between the sun and our body. So remember I was mentioning before that every single cell has a photonic receptor, meaning we're sensitive to the light?
Right.
Okay, so if we're following the diagram right there, the sun hits your eye will send a signal to your brain, and your brain will then communicate with the rest of your body. So your brain is going to communicate with the hormones in your gut. Your brain is going to communicate with your metabolism, the production of other hormones, and then your brain is going to communicate with your appetite, meaning controlling hormones such as ghrelin. Remember, ghrelin tells you, okay, it's time to eat. It controls your insulin. Insulin controls how your blood sugar works. It controls your leptin. Now, what leptin does, it tells your brain, hey, wait a second, we had enough to eat, let's shut down, and obviously controls your glucose, I mentioned before, your blood sugar. This is how a proper cycle works. So with the proper rhythm, you get the communication from the sun to the brain, and the brain to your hormones. It controls your weight, controls your thyroid, controls your metabolism, controls your immune system, controls your gut, controls your stress. It controls every single detail possible. Now, what happens if we take away, for example, the connection between the brain and the hormones? Say you're looking at the brain and your brain's not communicating with the leptin anymore. This what happens when you have a dysregulation in a circadian rhythm. Instead of your leptin saying, don't eat anymore, you're full, your leptin won't work. And you keep on eating, and you keep on eating, and you gain more weight. And then this will lead to type 2 diabetes, and has a cascading negative effect. And simple stuff like the circadian rhythm following this can completely avoid this disaster.
And so one thing I've heard is that, your leptin, when we put toxins and things in our bodies, that, at some point, your body has plenty of leptin, it just cannot hear the message, so the brain is not getting the signal because of all these disruptors, the improper sleep patterns, and the foods that we're bringing in. So all of this is combining together to send bad signals to our hormones, and that's why everybody's having so many issues, children having issues with ADHD, autism, diabetes, adults having weight gain and depression. All those things are being triggered by us not following our pattern of proper sleep and us not getting proper nutrition and exercise. It boils down to those three things, right?
Definitely. And if you're just looking at studies for type 2 diabetics, I'll show you numerous studies connecting sleep with type 2 diabetes, sleep with insulin, sleep with leptin, sleep with ghrelin, sleep with glucose, sleep with your thyroid hormones. There's studies, I mean numerous and numerous and numerous studies connecting that sleep controls all of this. Because what we're looking at right here on this diagram, this is known as pretty much an HPA axis, the communication between the outside, the brain, and your gut. And this all has to function properly, but the only way this functions properly is through rhythms. So following a proper circadian rhythm, going to bed on time, not bathing yourself in artificial light, eating healthy foods, nutritious foods. You're mentioning earlier before, giving, proper healthy lipid bilayers for your cells. All of this is a crucial element towards health, and the more we deviate from a proper circadian cycle, and I know a lot of parents right now probably thinking, and not just parents, but anybody right now thinking that they're imperative or they can't be influenced by not sleeping properly. Well, that's a false lie. You always hear that one individual, I can get by for 5 hours of sleep or 4 hours of sleep. Where is that person going to be 10 years from now, and at what cost?
Right.
Okay? And these are the questions that we should be asking ourselves. And, at the end of the day, we all, everybody, every single parent out there, every single children, every single human being, we want to live a healthy life. We don't want to live a life of pain. We don't want to live a life of suffering, and simple stuff of going to bed on time and talking to your children, reading some books, getting to know your kids, becoming their best friends, controlling your environment. What more can you ask for?
Yeah, and I'd like to offer a challenge to everybody listening today. You're starting us off on the week, so how about if everybody could make the commitment this week through the rest of the summit? See if you can get your family. Have it be a game. The first child in bed gets a $1 bill, or the first child in bed gets a special treat, not food-wise, but just some kind of special thing, maybe a 5 or 10 minute extra back rub if they're the first ones in bed. And get the family in bed this week and see if you can do it. And 7 days forms a habit. You do it this week, make it a point, and you should be set.
That's right. I couldn't agree more. So if we want to summarize everything.
Yeah, you got a great summary for us.
Yeah, definitely. I want to really tell the parents out there that following just this simple summarization I did right here, remember that your body obeys the light cycles, meaning it obeys when the sun goes up and when the sun goes down. Your hormones are controlled by these light cycles. So if you go against how the sun dictates you should live, your hormones have problems, meaning thyroid issues, leptin issues, ghrelin issues. Cortisol, we're in such a stressed out state right now. The situation is everybody's stressed out. Forget supplements, forget everything, A simple way to decrease your stress is proper sleeping. Heal your body. Obviously, we've been, pushing this time frame throughout the whole presentation is go to bed at 10 p.m. There's no ifs or buts. It's very simple. All year round, all seasons, the 4 seasons, go to bed at 10 p.m. It's very simple, and you're going to greatly, greatly be thankful afterwards when you have gone to bed at 10 o'clock. And finally, parents, 1 hour before bed, please shut off everything. Like I mentioned before, shut off everything, no electronics. Sit down with your kids, talk to them, laugh with them, read them some books, educate them, Show them these diagrams, show them how your body works. And I'm telling you, they're gonna be thanking you in the future. I wish that someone was educating me when I was younger. Oh, God knows where I would be. I'll be 10 years, light years ahead of the time where I am right now. If people are telling me, "Hey, Ameer, did you know that sleep can control your hormones and you can get better performance in your sport and you can become smarter, faster, stronger?" I'm like, sign me up. Where's the contract? Right?
What's my bedtime? Yes.
That's right, and I really want the parents to take this information and use it in a very beneficial way.
Well, Ameer, you've been so gracious to come on to the Healthy Kids Revolution and donate your time and your talent and all your knowledge that you've acquired so passionately over these years to share with us and help the parents on the call today figure out exactly why sleep is so important. So I hope that everybody will please go to Ameer's website. It's Ameer Rosic. It's on the last slide. www.ameerrosic.com. He also has wonderful, again, just to remind you, to go to YouTube and just plug in his name. You'll find tons of different things on there that he's put, fitness videos, educational videos, absolutely tons of resources. And then do you have a newsletter on your website? I believe you
Yeah,
do, don't
yeah,
you?
that's right. I have right now over 10,000 subscribers on my newsletter, and you get 2-3 times a week the most detailed information possible about health.
Well, for those of you on the line, I'd love for you to go over there and show Ameer some love and thank him very much for sharing his time and talents with us. See what resources he has that fits into your scheme of the elevation of material that you like to learn. He's definitely a great go-to guy on tons of information. So, Ameer, thanks for spending your time with us today. And everybody, this is a wrap. We will start off tomorrow with Dr. Mercola. So get your sleep, get in bed by 10, and we'll see you on tomorrow's call. Thanks, Ameer. Have a good day.
Thank you, Carmen. Thank you, everyone.
Okay. Bye-bye.